Hi guys, welcome back to the Ask Me Mama. I'm Danny. Thanks for tuning in. Today I want to talk about the evaluation with my 3-year-old daughter. I never got to explain to everyone how that went. It was a couple months ago now, but I wanted to give the update anyways and let you know all the signs and symptoms that we were noticing with her and why we went to have her evaluated and what the outcome was. Coming up. Okay, so it seems like knowing if your child had a disorder would be a straightforward problem, but that's not always the case with autism, and it's especially not the case when it comes to girls with autism. Anyone who has a daughter with autism, especially high-functioning autism, probably knows that it's very hard to get them diagnosed, to get them the support and help that they need to succeed. So that's kind of been our story. So with my 2-year-old daughter who just turned 3 the other day, we've had this struggle with her of her older 2 brothers have autism. They are diagnosed with it. Her older sister we suspect has autism, but we haven't been successful in having her diagnosed with autism. And now my youngest daughter has been presenting a lot of classic signs of autism, and so we thought it would be a really straightforward case to have her diagnosed. However, lo and behold, it's not as easy as you think it might be. Initially, I guess like with my eldest, he was a straightforward typical case, and he was diagnosed and it was kind of out of the blue and we didn't see it coming and it surprised us. And with my second, he was a very complicated case and we had a hard time getting him diagnosed. So I've already seen kind of 2 aspects of how this can go with just my oldest 2 kids. But now it's a whole nother chapter with my girls, because I've suspected for a long time that my oldest has autism, but she's very high functioning and it just isn't being recognized. But the older she's become, it's becoming a little bit more and more obvious. She's 7 now, and as she's turning into grade school and starting school, I think the issues are starting to become more apparent. Whereas with my younger daughter, she's only 2 or 3, so she still has time to grow, but it's like I don't want her to get to the age of 7 or 8 and then be behind because she didn't get help that she could have got when she was younger. And so it's kind of that mama guilt trip going on of I'm really trying my best to get them all seen to and get all their needs met. And if it's not autism, that's fine too. But there's definitely something going on, and I just want to make sure that we get her all the help and intervention that she needs, because so far all of my kids have had developmental delays in speech and have needed a lot of help with their speech and other things. So I just know, like with our family history, it's best just to get started and get as much help and support as we can as young as possible. So I took her in November to be assessed for autism, and the reason why we wanted to have her evaluated was she was showing some really classic signs and symptoms that I had noticed from my older 2 children and just was aware of in general for kids with autism. I'm going to share with you a list of symptoms that she was presenting. So one of the main signs that we noticed with her was a stimming or repetitive behavior, where she would take her blanket and wiggle it beneath her nose repetitively. And then if she was really upset, she would breathe rhythmically while brushing it under her nose. So she would go like this and then go like that rhythmically to soothe herself and calm down. And she does that multiple times throughout the day, all day long. And she's been doing it since she was about 18 months old. So she's been doing it for a long time. In addition to that, we see that sometimes she gets on all 4s and kind of rocks back and forth, which is what one of her older brothers does as well. And so she does that repetitive stem as well. And most recently, I've even seen her hand flapping a little bit. So she definitely has the repetitive behavior, which is a really big classical sign for autism. Some of the other signs she has is that she was having really big meltdowns. And for anyone who's not familiar with autism, a meltdown is not like a tantrum. The difference between a meltdown and a tantrum is that a tantrum, you can usually talk to the child, you can hold them, you can calm them down, you can distract them so that they snap out of the tantrum, or you can offer them something and they will come out of the tantrum. Like, let's say they wanted a candy. If you give them the candy, then they'll come out of it. I'm not saying that's good parenting to give in to them and give the candy, but in a meltdown, you can offer the child the thing that upset them and they won't even accept it because they've shut down sensory-wise and communicative-wise, and they just aren't reachable. So that is just the difference between a meltdown and a tantrum. And so she would have meltdowns that would last for 40 minutes to an hour, and frequently throughout the day. So the little things would like set her off, especially nap times and bedtimes. We'd really struggle with getting her regulated and calm to go to bed and helping her fall asleep. She really would fight it and we were having a really hard time with bedtime and anything that was like a change in schedule. So again, changes and transitions. Those were 3 really big signs that she was presenting. Some of the other smaller signs that she was presenting as well that are typical was echolia, which is where they repeat things back. So a lot of times if we would say something to her, she would repeat the sentence back to us. She also has a lot of issues with touch and sound. She doesn't like being touched. She doesn't like us to stroke her face, her hair, even just to hold her. If she really is kind of avoidant of touch, and she's avoidant of a lot of sounds. If she hears any sort of loud sounds outside, we live in an area where there's a lot of construction, it really upsets her. Also in the house, she doesn't like vacuums or kitchen equipment or anything that's motorized that makes a big sound. We also noticed within our own house, because we don't get out a lot with Corona and everything, that she really isn't interested in playing with her siblings. Everything is pretty much like she wants to play by herself. She doesn't invite them to play. If they try to play with her, she gets very upset and pulls away. And so we weren't seeing that she was sharing in her play. Also, that her imaginative play was very limited. She didn't know how to extend her play into a story of, you know, taking a baby and then going and making it food and then feeding it the food and then changing its diaper and putting it to bed, like a sequence, like a story. She doesn't know how to do that at all. And a lot of her interactions are to achieve a desired goal, meaning like if she wants a drink, she will come and ask us for a drink, but it's for her needs. She won't interact with us unless she needs something. So there is no like general talking to us or communication with us unless it's for something she needs. She also doesn't understand jokes. If anyone made a joke with her, she really doesn't get it, and she would get upset or just walk away. She plays with toys the same way every time. There's no variation in her play skills. Since this wasn't our first rodeo or evaluation, we felt like all these things were pointing to her having autism, and after having 2 kids with autism, we weren't surprised that maybe more of our kids would have autism. And with everything going on, we felt like these were all clear signs and symptoms that she does have autism. So when we went to the evaluation, we thought for sure they're gonna see it. That wasn't what happened. So basically, because of Corona, they broke up our appointment into 2 sessions. Normally they have the psychologist, neurologist, speech therapist, occupational therapist, and maybe another person. They are all in one meeting, but because of that, they broke it up into 2. So we went to the first one, which was with the neurologist and psychologist, and they spoke to me, and they'd already read through her history and questionnaire where we had put in all these issues that we'd seen and all these problems that we were having and all of these concerns that we had. And they sat and they played with her and they evaluated her, and basically in the end, they were kind of on the fence because they said, yes, she does have all these classical signs and symptoms of autism. However, she did make eye contact, and they felt like she was communicative to some degree. And so that put a big question mark for them because she was being somewhat sociable. However, as we all know, any mom who has kids with autism knows that they can be sociable, but that doesn't mean that they have the social skills necessary. And that's where I think the key is here, is that yes, she can make eye contact. However, she doesn't make eye contact consistently, and also she lacks the social skills she should have at her age to play and interact. And those are the big things, and I feel like a lot of times those things are looked over because of other things that they're looking for. So anyways, we had to go for a speech and occupational evaluation for her to see how she was doing in those areas. And basically her speech is really delayed, which there was no surprise there because all my kids have struggled with speech. It's a big issue that seems to be reoccurring in our family, that all the kids have severe speech delay and different language problems that make it harder for them when it comes to verbal instructions or different things. Our kids have a lot of speech issues, and so it's no surprise to us there that maybe she would have a delay because everyone else has thus far. In terms of occupational therapy, she did notice that she doesn't make eye contact consistently and that she didn't have a lot of variation in her play, some of the things that we noticed, and so she did recommend her for occupational therapy, and the speech therapist recommended her for speech therapy. So that was all done in November. Flash forward to December, and we actually started therapy for her. She started occupational therapy. She's had 4 sessions now, and they've been working with her on lengthening her interactions to having like a couple minutes of play, and then having like a few sequences that she goes to, so she has variation in her play and like an intent and a start and a finish. And then we've been working on some of her fine motor skills, such as teaching her how to draw circles and lines and things like this. And we're just trying to get her all prepared to start preschool so that she'll be in a good place to do the things that she's going to need to do there. So that's where we are at with her now. She was supposed to start speech therapy this week, but due to Corona, the person that was going to give her therapy had to be quarantined because they were exposed to someone with Corona. So now we are waiting for them to finish their quarantine, and hopefully after their quarantine period is over, she will be able to start her speech therapy. And then we have a follow-up in April with the neurologist, so I'm hoping by then we will have a clear picture from her therapies and also from all the genetic testing that we're doing. If you don't know about that, you can see the video up here. And we'll have a clear picture of if she has it or if she doesn't, because they're still kind of deciding. It's not a clear no and it's not a clear yes. It's we don't know. So we'll see how that all comes out, and I'll keep you guys posted. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and join this mama's tribe. See you guys next time. Bye.